Hi, I'm Alexandra Martinez, and today I'm going to speak about my critical creative reflection. In here, I will answer 4 of the main questions, and I'll explain in detail what my project has been all about and what it has involved. So, question 1 says, how does your product use or challenge conventions, and how does it represent social groups or issues? So, conventions are a set of rules which genres follow. Okay, so we chose our genre based on some questionnaires which we handed out physically to our friends. So basically when we went out with them, we handed them out the questionnaire and we explained them what it was all about. So in here, the second genre chosen was love and romance, and the first one was action. Okay, so in action films, what people include are a fast-moving plot, violence, screaming, shouting, swearing, action taken in place. Obviously, like basically the hero gets into some physical issue or challenge. So how does our opening scene support codes and conventions? Well, at the end, when Marco and Sarah see themselves together for the first time, you can see how Marco uses quite aggressive language to speak to Sarah. He actually shouts and screams to her and kind of has some violent look. Also, there's a hero put into challenge. So Sarah is into some physical challenge where she's tied up in the middle of a factory with no one surrounding her, which actually makes her seem more vulnerable. Okay, and finally, why do we support or reject the social stereotypes which we have in here? Okay, so what are stereotypes? Stereotypes are some set ideas which are fixed to a group of people. For example, older people tend to be seen as boring, elderly, while teenagers are seen to be rude. So there's different stereotypes for different social groups, and they don't necessarily need to be true. We actually support them in most of the ways because the two villains seems to have a lower social class compared to Sarah, which is the... So it is seen that Marco and Jin wear black clothes. They have kind of a scruffy look. They don't have anything which is outstanding. They just have black, normal or common looks. They don't have any expensive clothing. They just have like gym clothes. Where Sarah has actually some posh clothes, expensive, bright, and that actually kind of reflects the personalities of both of the scenes. So one social class is seen as an active, kind of positive thing, and whilst the other one kind of seems a negative, bad habits. I don't know, it kind of connotes lots of different things. One of them is positivity, and the other one is just like the bad things. Okay, question 2. How does your product engage with audiences, and how would it be distributed as a real media text? Well, taking into account that our target audience is quite broad and that it's between people aged 16 to 40, it makes sense for them to feel identified with our characters, as Jen and Sarah are 16 and Marco is kind of 35, 40. So adults will be kind of interested in Marco's character, while teenagers will see themselves reflected in people like kind of their age. So Sarah and Jin would make the reference to teenagers and people which teens notice. Okay, so our film provides escapism. We already saw that, as people could feel identified with the characters and therefore could live the situation in their position. But how would this be distributed in real media? So we'd probably post some adverts in YouTube before some music videos or something like that, as teens and adults are quite interested in those sectors of YouTube. Then also we would create some Twitter accounts, like one for each character, and including those accounts, we would post some things in Twitter which would help people understand what our film is all about and what will they gain if they see our film. We would also use some Instagram accounts to publish pictures about the film or publish how things are being done. So this not only gives a view about how our film is made or how our film is gonna be, but it also gives them an inner side of what we're doing and how people have been working, making them want to see it even more. Okay, question 3. How did your production skills develop throughout this project? Well, at the beginning of this project in September, I did know some things about media studies as I studied it before in IGCSEs, but I didn't have the experience of editing videos of this kind. I didn't know how to advertise products. I had zero knowledge about how actually using microphones, different cameras, different editing techniques. I was quite basic in the way that I edited things, like not only when it came to apps, but when it came to using technology to film things, I was quite basic and I had no idea about how things made real differences, like how small things made differences. Also, I tried to develop my skills by changing the app which I used to edit. Before I used Adobe Premiere Pro and I was quite used to it. It's quite good and I would still be using it right now, but I saw Wondershare Filmora 9, which is another app which... So Filmora Wondershare helped us with the editing quite a lot because it's a simple app which is for people which are just starting up. And even though we were doing our A-level, it was quite simple and it made this process easier for us. But on the other hand, when it comes to editing audio or sound, Adobe Premiere Pro was much better as it's more professional and it has tools which Filmora Wondershare doesn't have. Okay, so finally, how did you integrate technology, software, hardware, and online in this project? Well, at the beginning of this project in September, I had no idea of how to use microphones, different editing apps, different cameras, and during this process, I did understand and I did learn how to use them. So I remember that at the beginning of this project, I started doing some presentations and I decided to do a voiceover of one of them. And for that, I did need the use of microphones because if not, the sound would have been rubbish. So I used that. Then I changed from Adobe Premiere Pro to Filmora, which are different editing apps which helped me, as I said before. And finally, I changed from an iPhone camera to a Nikon to a Canon and again to an iPhone 8 camera because I found it easier to film with an actual phone than with a camera because cameras gave us lots of problems in terms of battery, storage and things like that. So we just decided to keep it simple and stay with iPhone. Okay, and finally I just wanted to explain what our opening scene is all about. So at the beginning of our opening scene or of our film, you can see how Marco and Jin are arriving to an abandoned place in a car, which is later on exposed to audience. And it seems to be a luxury car which actually clashes with their personalities as they're supposed to be the villains are the ones with the lower social status. But once they get out, you can see how their clothing also clashes with the car and it matches their personalities. They both get out of the car and start to walk to this abandoned factory, whilst they both seem to have a secure personality. Once they both get in, we get an over-the-shoulder shot from Jin's perspective looking at Marco, which actually gave us the sense that Marco was superior to Jin during this whole process. When they run to see Sarah, you can see how Sarah is sat down at the floor, how Jin is trying to be closer to her whilst Marco just stays at a distant position. Then, this could reflect either the superiority that Marco and Jin have over Sarah or how Jin is trying to take over the position of Marco. Whilst Jin is speaking and is showing Sarah what instruction she needs to follow, we get a high-angle shot of Sarah which shows us her inferiority and demonstrates the audience that in this position she's the one with less power. Finally, Marco and Jin decide to leave, leaving Sarah alone in the abandoned factory, which leaves the audience in a cliffhanger.